Hello Blade enthusiasts, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Studio GDT Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Ryansword Custom 1095 Shihozume Shobu-Zukuri pattern katana that was a personal passion project of mine. The Shobu-Zukuri style is probably my favorite style in katana, and I had found a Nihonto that I really loved the overall elegance of it, and I wanted to task a manufacturer with duplicating it, something I haven't done before. I've given some rough specs, things I was looking for, used the pull-down menus like most of us have, but this time I wanted to send an image, I wanted to send some specs, and I wanted to send a vision along with that to see how a manufacturer could execute it. So Ryansword was the guinea pig as far as that was concerned. If you recall, I had previously posted a video of Ryansword's forging production process. This sword that we're going to be taking a look at today is the sword that was filmed in that process and that ended up in my possession. So if you did not see that previous video, go ahead and watch this one to the end and you'll see a link for that production video so you can see the various stages of this blade being produced. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty. I lied. Gotta get the disclaimers in there. I am not an expert in Japanese swordsmanship. I am not an expert in swords or metallurgy. I'm just an amateur doing this for fun, hoping that I can shed some light on some questions you might have. The sword reviewed today is not a review sample. It was paid for with my own funds. Not that that would change my review in any way, shape, or form if it was anything different than that. As always, exercise caution. Take care of your swords so that they will last a lifetime. This sword began life as an advertisement for Nihonto that I found on the internet. I was searching for my idea of the perfect Shobu-Zukuri profile, and I found this after scouring the web for some images. I took a couple of pictures, some screenshots to be able to send to Ryansword, along with some specifications. We had to make a couple of small tweaks just to suit my height. I'm just under 6 foot, so the 25 inches or so that the sword was originally wasn't going to work. So we collaborated and made those tweaks and sent it off to production. When I received the sword, at first glance, it was pretty much everything that I was looking for and wanted. I wanted something that looked a little bit sinister, so I went with the red saya, some Oni-themed furniture, and with the profile of the blade, it kind of looked like it could be a villain's sword, if you will, rather than the hero's sword. So I was pretty happy with it right out of the box. After breaking it down, I was faced with my first issue, however. I had requested a Riko Tsuka, which they did nail in the shape. Now this was a panel, not a full wrap. I have to mention something that Josh said from Cottontail Customs, where you're going to get your best profile and your best shape on a mass-produced Tsuka with panels as opposed to a full wrap, and when they do a full wrap, you tend to lose some of your shape. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment here. But it looked like the Tsuka absorbed a lot of oil, which Ryansword has now made some changes to how they ship their swords as a result of this, and the oil maybe softened the wood and caused it to split. After reaching out to Ryansword and showing them and talking about this, they immediately were willing to cover shipping back to them so that they could take a look at it. I had waited for a while for the sword, so I said, let's work something else out. Maybe you could send me a replacement Tsuka. They said that they had my dimensions on file, and they did send me a replacement Tsuka free of charge. The replacement Tsuka I received was a full wrap, and it did lose some of the Riko shape, although still maintaining it somewhat, and did add quite a bit of girth. At first, I didn't think I was going to like it, and I went ahead and installed it and used a one-hole pin for the Makugi, and I'm up and operational. So I was appreciative that Ryansword worked with me on this to a point to where I was satisfied. The new Tsuka, although significantly less elegant and significantly more bulbous than the previous one, was done well. The diamonds were pretty much in alignment and evenly spaced. It looked good and it feels good in the hand. The kashira was relatively well detailed, although the Shitodome that were on the original were molded in with it as well. Depending on who you ask, this might not be a bad thing. Another bonus to the replacement Tsuka was significantly higher quality Same that was used. This is the largest Emperor node that I have on any sword to date, and it was pretty impressive. I do like big nodes, and I cannot lie. I was also pleased with the quality and detail of the Manuki, and the material of it seems to be a little bit different than the other swords I've had before. It doesn't feel as plasticky, although I'm still not 100% certain what type of material it is. The Fuchi also had an appropriate level of detail, had no rough or sharp edges, and blended into the shape of the Tsuka very well. Here you can really see the width of the replacement full wrap Tsuka on this. There's a lot of extra wood on this core. This does not have Hishigami, and it might not be the tightest non-Hishigami Tsuka that I have, and there is a slight bit of movement, but overall it is perfectly acceptable, and when applying pressure at the centers of the Ito, it stays put and is solid in the hand. You don't feel any sort of shifting. So in alignment with what Cottontail Custom states, you do lose some of the shape when you go to a full Samigawa wrap on a mass-produced Tsuka. At least, I still have some remnants of that Riko shape, and the wrapping's good, blends nice and neatly in with the Kashura. The Tsuba was made of iron and was picked to go along with this kind of Oni theme. It's very, very simple, as is my normal pick for swords, the aesthetic. It was installed in reverse, which is pretty normal, so I did have to flip that around, no issues there. But it's clean and has a good level of detail, accomplished exactly what I wanted with it. The sword fit to the saya was good. Everything was nice and crisp and neat and lines up with no gaps. When I put in the order for this sword, I was thinking so much about the blade itself, I didn't really put any thought into the saya, so I ended up picking this very specific, nice-looking sword, and I picked a very basic saya with it. It doesn't have any buffalo horn, nothing special about it. If I could redo this, I would pick a saya to match the quality of the sword. I did, however, remember to ask for copper habaki and copper seppa. I didn't want anything special about it, didn't want a special design, because I wanted it to, again, be kind of this very understated, villainous looking sword. So they fit well and look clean. And now it's time for the best part of every review, and that is the unveiling of the blade itself. Again, this is a 1095 Shihozume pattern welded Shobu-Zukuri katana with hamon, obviously, and a mid-grade polishing. So as we pass through it and take a look at it here and kind of stand back and enjoy it in all its awesomeness, you can see the Sugata is very, very elegant. So stepping into this, we'll do a quick pan from the Tsuka up to the Kasaki here. It has a 1.6 centimeter sori, which is a little bit more than the original reference Nihonto, but this sword, of course, was quite a bit longer than that original one, and I'm not particularly a fan of super straight swords, so we made the decision to increase that sori a little bit. For as nimble as the sword feels in the hand, it does have quite a bit of meat on it as far as the body is concerned. The flats are exceptionally flat with no ripples whatsoever, as you can see in both of these images here. The lines are crisp and precise. The hamon selected for this sword was a Gunom Midare style. They did a pretty clean job of it, with the exceptions of one area, which I'll highlight before, where there might have been a bit of a flaw. But overall, the hamon is extremely well done, and with the polishing job, we'll take a look at here in a moment, you can see a lot of activity going on. When discussing with Ryansword that this would be used for cutting, we decided to go with their mid-grade polishing procedure. This did bring out some characteristics of the steel in the folding process, but was not so polished that it would be damaged when done with cutting. Unfortunately, there's some really cool activity going on that you can't really see with this grade of polishing, but you could if you took the step up. You just have to pick what's going to suit you best in the end. Now, there was one interesting spot where it looked like a piece of the clay might have fallen off early. You can clearly see where the hamon was supposed to be, but then it got heat treated around that, and you can see the same piece of clay in the video, the production video that I had released earlier. You can also see how it went through to the other side of the blade. Shouldn't impact anything, but it's just kind of interesting and does show the handcrafted nature of the sword in itself. The Kasaki was finished in true Shobu-Zukuri fashion, and we had to tweak it a little bit. You can see in this photo here that it was still kind of a Shinogi-Zukuri to begin with, but with further shaping and getting it down to match that reference photo, they were able to nail the original concept of what we were trying to do with this. So there you have it. Overall, it exceeded my expectations. It quickly became my favorite sword, my personal sword. The feeling of it in the hands defies the length of it. It's fast, it's nimble. I think it's beautiful. If there were some things I could do a little bit differently on a second time through, what would they be? I probably would have spent a little bit more money on an upgraded saya that had some buffalo horn components to it. I really completely spaced that when I placed the order. I didn't ask those questions. So it helps to ask questions when you're doing custom orders as well. Don't make any assumptions. But you let me know. What do you think of the finished product? Do you think that they nailed it with what my requests were and what our limitations were? Do you think that there was some room for improvement? Or do you think what was produced versus what was requested for, considering the price that was paid, they checked all the boxes? So all I can say is I'm happy with it, and the full custom request process, maybe even more than some people have, or similar to what some people have, I think was executed pretty well. So let them know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like what you see, go over to their website and get a quote. Make your vision come true here. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Studio GDT Reviews. Please like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. It helps me get an idea on if this thing is worth continuing to do, as well as lets the manufacturers who help support the program know if it's something they should continue to support as well. So thank you very much, and have a great day, and stay safe.